Hello, everybody. Tracy, Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president of JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tactical Treasures podcast, sponsored by the JDog Foundation. Our podcast gives veterans, mil spouses, active military members, military family members, and patriotic military supporters a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they're affecting their communities post-service, and they share with me a tactical treasure that has shaped their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I am so excited to have with me Jennifer Barnhill, who is a journalist, researcher, and fierce advocate for military families. She is a columnist for military.com and the host of Military Dinner Table Conversations, a reverse town hall exploring the conversations military families are having around their dinner tables, conversations that directly impact recruitment and retention. She is the 2025 Armed Forces Insurance Navy Spouse of the Year. She is a 2023 Bush Institute Stand to Veteran Leadership Program Scholar and served on the board of the League of Wives Memorial Project, which helped erect the first statue honoring the advocacy of military spouses. Her work has been featured by CNN, The War Horse, Military Times, and The Independent, and her research has been cited by the White House. Jennifer's work has culminated in her latest project, her debut nonfiction book, The Military Stories You've Been Told and the Ones You Need to Hear, invites readers to reconsider what they think they know about the military by listening to the hidden all-volunteer force, military families. Hello, Jennifer. Welcome to the podcast. Congratulations on being the Navy Military Spouse of the Year for 2025. And thank you so much for your service and your husband's service to our country.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. That was quite a long list of things, Mal. I feel it's a little embarrassing.
No. You amazing accomplishments. And I love it. I think your resume is very impressive, ma'am. So we have a lot to talk about today, but I would first like to start. You've been a mil spouse for 19 years. What is it about the military life that has kind of drove you to be this huge advocate for military families?
I mean, I feel like this is not a unique answer, but it's the people, my friends. It's the stories that are right next to me that kind of inspired me to start writing about this community. It wasn't something I did. I did not enter my career as a journalist writing about the military. I was actually trained to write about art history, which is not at all like what I'm writing about now. But I was trained as a art historian, like a researcher, to work in museums. And I met a man in the military, kind of derailed a little bit of that pathway, but put me on a new pathway. And when I had met so many amazing people along the way, hearing their stories and their hardships, the good and the bad, really inspired me to want to give back to the community. And the only way I know how to do that is through writing and research. So that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I totally believe with all my heart that our military spouses and military children, I mean, they serve the country too. And the sacrifices that they all go through and give up, really, those stories need to be told and people need to understand, and be thankful for all that you do in support of your service member. Um, so, you are a journalist and a researcher, and you authored a book that will be coming out soon. Um, I would love to know what the inspiration was for writing that book. What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, I never actually was a person who wanted to write a book. I am, short form is my comfort zone. I would much prefer to challenge myself by writing something in as succinct a way as I could. So writing a book was not ever on my horizon. The reason I decided to write a book versus just write a column is we know that, as internet changes, things change, companies are bought and sold. These are the stories of our community, and they have to live on beyond us. And I did not want ever there to be a time where someone's story that I wrote at some point would get lost. We don't really have a history, really, per se. And you mentioned in the beginning of the bio, I worked on a project memorializing something called the League of Wives. This was an initiative basically that was led by military spouses during the Vietnam War. And they really were all focused on getting their husbands who were shot down in Vietnam home from the Hanoi Hilton. Their stories went really untold for many years until a dear friend of mine, Heath Hardy Lee, wrote a book about it. And it really highlighted for me the need for more stories to be captured in a different format. And so that was what inspired me to kind of write it down in book form, so that it would live on, beyond the articles that kind of get a click here and there. And then how do you find them? Those stories are really important. So I wanted to document them.
Wow. Wow. That's really amazing. So, if someone like myself, a civilian, or I mean, even another person, connected to the military community, if they were to read this book, what would you hope that the main message or takeaway from the book would be for them?
That there is always more to the story. We hear a lot about the military. The military community only represents 1% of America, roughly. So that's a very small
Yes.
percentage. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
it's the average American doesn't really know what the service member experience is, let alone the family experience. It's my theory, though, that I may not understand what it's like to storm a beachhead or be on a battlefield, be in combat as a civilian. I don't know what that's like. The average civilian probably doesn't know either. But we all kind of can connect with the family experience, the military family experience of what is it like to worry about someone you love, that they'll get home safely. That's
Right.
always something that people can relate to. And therefore, I think that family stories are almost the entry point to better understanding the military. It is more familiar. So I would say your question was, what would I hope they walk away? I would hope that they would understand that there's always more to the military story than what they're seeing in the news. I
Hmm.
would encourage them not to even take my word for it, to go and meet and talk to more military families. This is
Right.
just the start of what I hope is a conversation around these topics, but
Hmm.
by no means all encompassing.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. It's almost like pulling the veil back on the military family and what they all experience, not to mention, our Gold Star families. I mean, you know, so
That's a chapter in the book. The Gold Star
is
families are
it?
featured. Yes.
Oh,
Yep.
awesome. Awesome.
Yep. And
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
battle. They're still fighting
Right.
battles to receive earned benefits. And so it's, we think we've made a promise to take care of those who are left behind, but what does that promise look like right now? And so there's a chapter that goes into that exact
Right.
theme.
Right. Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, communities around Gold Star families, there's a lot of pageantry or whatever that goes on as the person comes home and the community embraces and the funeral and all that sort of thing. And then there's a time when all of that kind of ends, and then but they're still grieving. Their grief never stops. And the community may embrace them, never forget about them, but don't understand how to still remember them and be involved in their lives as they still continue to grieve, because it never goes away, really.
Yeah, and that's exactly what some of the folks who I spoke with, mentioned. It's the family members, not just the partners. It's the sisters, the extended relatives who don't have base access but do want to
Right.
memorialize
Hmm.
their loved one. It's the people who, someone I interviewed called herself a grief doula, and she was so used to hearing of folks passing away in the line of service and being there for the families, that's what title she gave herself, because she's so
Mm,
familiar with sitting with sadness, and it's
yeah.
normalized for her, and it's uncomfortable for the
Hmm.
average person, but
I'm
how can we
sure.
move past our discomfort as a
Hmm.
society in order to honor the promise that we have
Hmm.
made to our service members, which is to take care of those who are left behind? And we
Right.
have to kind of do that together. And so this book kind of looks at some of those stories, their learned lessons, and asks the whole community, the military community, beyond those individuals, what can we be doing better? How can we better support this population who's given everything for our country?
Yes. 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 Great. That's awesome. Awesome to think about that. And um, I'm excited for the book. I really want to get it, read it, and hear all these stories. I think it's amazing work that you've done with the book. I do want to pivot just a little bit. You are the 2025 Navy Military Spouse of the Year. Congratulations again on that. What do you hope to do with that platform?
Connect with as many Navy spouses as I can. It's one of the, as a reporter, I get the opportunity to talk to different people frequently, but documenting our stories is something that's really important to me. And specifically as a Navy spouse, documenting Navy stories is important as well. My husband is stationed at the United States Naval Academy. It's actually the first place we had our first date, to be honest. It's very full circle
Oh,
with the
wow.
military. But the Navy has, it's a very special service branch, and it has lots of traditions. Sometimes they're a little dated, but other times they're really meaningful and they can bring you to tears. And so, with this platform, I really just want to connect with more Navy spouses, and I hope to also connect with the Navy and work with them to be able to tell these stories. In the past, there's been conversations about um, a new Navy museum opening up. What would it look like to include some more family stories in that museum? That would be amazing. And so, just this platform has been an amazing opportunity to connect with people that I didn't know before, meet new people. As a journalist, new sources of information. I always love to talk to different people to hear what's going on with them. I don't ever want it to be the stories that come to me or because I knew that person or that person. I want to hear from as many people as I can. And so this platform has been amazing for that, getting to hear some stories I didn't have access to before.
Oh, that's amazing. I don't know. Sounds like another book could be on the horizon.
Oh, there's a lot in the back of my mind. So yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Always thinking. Um, so I would love to just have you briefly talk about, you're the host of the Military Table Dinner Conversations, this reverse town hall. Could you tell me a little bit about how that works and what does that look like?
Yeah, so this actually started through my participation in the Bush Institute's Veteran Leadership Project. It's a very amazing program, so I just would point people to look that up, search that up, and learn about it. Brings together lots of people who are advocates in the military, family, and veteran space. Um, my project was aimed at understanding and answering a question. I'm a nerd, a data nerd, so my question was are military family stories being told? And if not, who gets to decide which military stories are worthy of being told? And, that decision doesn't seem like it should ever sit in one hand, right? Like the institution shouldn't get to decide. It's a collective story, right? It's not just, they of course can put out their story, but we have ours and we want to tell it. And it's not necessarily different. It's probably complementary. So that was kind of the thesis of the product that I worked on. And I actually was super nerdy and I reviewed a lot of news stories and I found that our families are really not represented. They were only 6 out of about 160 stories that I reviewed were even remotely about the military family. I also looked at who was being quoted in each story, and I'm going to ask you a question if that's okay. If you were to guess the number of times or the percentage that an officer was quoted versus an enlisted
Hello,
person.
viewers and listeners. Are you a military veteran or military family member and looking to own your own business? If so, go to jdog.com and check out our two veteran focused franchises, JDog Junk Removal and Hauling and JDog Carpet Cleaning and Floor Care. Our franchisees nationwide are always looking to hire fellow veterans and patriots. JDog is the world's largest military franchise system with hundreds of locations nationwide. We are nearly 90% veteran owned with the goal of reducing the veteran unemployment rate to under 1%. Check us out. Go to jdog.com to learn more. Now, back to the podcast.
If you're going to give it
An
percentage,
officer?
yes.
Oh, I would say maybe 60% of the time, a little
Not
over half.
9 to 1. So it was Now,
Oh,
officers were
wow.
coded 9 to 1, and it makes sense to a large extent because public
Sure.
affairs officers are often the ones who are speaking on behalf of the services. But it really just told me that not only are families not in the narrative, service members are barely in the narrative, representative. And so I wanted to democratize a little bit how families were able to have their voices told in the news. So
Mm.
I decided to create this program. It's a military dinner table conversations. It's a reverse town hall. So what that looks like is I bring a guest for a particular topic. Let's say, like, I don't know, PCS moves. Right now, there have been issues with the move process recently. So I'll bring in a guest and then I'll ask families or service members to join the conversation. They're the ones that are being asked the questions. They're not listening to the expert. They're not listening to me. They're sharing their stories and their experiences, and we follow up with questions. So it's really a way for anyone to be able to share their experiences with someone who will then use those stories to report about this community. So it's a little bit weird and wonky, but everyone who has participated in it, it's been very respectful. We have different sides. Some people agree with something, some people disagree, and it always ends up focused on solutions and resources. So that was kind of a byproduct that I was not expecting. That they really are building their own little community within these calls, and they decide what we're going to talk about next through polling. And so it's been a really interesting, fun project to be part of.
Wow, I love it. What an interesting concept. I think that's really neat. And I think you're giving a voice, to, the families and the people who are participating. I love it. I think that's really awesome. Um, so, um, Amazing discussion that we're having here. But what needs to be part of our discussion that we're having, Jennifer, is the tactical treasure part of our discussion, because we are a Tactical Treasures podcast.
Mm.
So I have to ask you, what is your tactical treasure? What has shaped your journey in your life? What would you like to share with us?
Whew. I feel like there's like 17 million different things I could say. The main thing is your experience is your experience. It is not anyone else's experience. I one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned in this community is to let your experience of something or someone be your experience of that person or that thing. It's easy to kind of get the gouge, or however you say it with a military term, of the information, the intel from someone else. But I have found that I want to be proven wrong. I want to have an open mind in every situation, and that has served me really well. It's um, I get to have my own unique experience because we are not the we might be we're a small member of this country, like only 1%, right? And we're very
Mhm.
diverse within that. But that because we're so diverse, we come from different backgrounds, hometowns, all these different lived experiences. My experience is not going to be someone else's experience, and so the advice that I might receive or give it only worked probably for me because
Mhm.
that was my experience. We get deployed, our spouses get deployed different places. We're never in the exact same shoes, or in the military Navy terms, in the same boat as the other person, as much as we might think that we are. And so
Yeah.
generalizing doesn't necessarily serve us as well as we might want it to. There is no easy button. We kind of have to go through it and try our best within the unique experience that we have. So advice is great, take with it, but we all kind of need to experience things for ourselves, and that's not very comforting to think about. Like, I know I'm like I need to think of one that's more uplifting and positive, but I don't none
No,
come
but
to mind at the moment.
I love that. I think that's really good advice, and I think I love that. I think that's a great tactical treasure because it is unique. Everybody's experience of their life and what they've been through is there's similarities, but it's always unique to your experience and what you went through. This has been amazing. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. I know you are a busy lady. I do have one additional question for you before we wrap up our time here. So, any advice for your fellow mill spouses that are struggling with the military life?
Hmm. Well, I mean, kind of goes back to the tactical treasure a little bit, like take each thing at its face value. But also, it can be really hard. I think there's a tendency in our community to rush through hardship and pain and, like I mentioned earlier, to not sit with the sadness or the hardship of it. I think that is a coping mechanism that we all kind of gravitate towards at one point or another. And I think that it's important to find people who let you feel what you feel about it, because it's not as though you feeling bad in this moment is going to be the thing that, it drives a wedge between you and the military. There's good things and there's hard things. Allowing the hard things to be recognized for their level of difficulty is okay. It's okay that that's there. I hope that, as me in an older generation says these things enough, that folks don't feel the need to say, oh, that happened to me too, it's going to be fine. Let's go out. It's good to have distractions. However, they still need to be, be able to be cared for in that moment of hardship, or not compare their experience to someone else's. Like, someone always has it harder. Someone does always have it harder. But you're allowed to have a hard time in this life, because it is hard. Just know that there are people that value what you have kind of given up. They recognize that you have encountered, unemployment, underemployment. You have maybe no 401k to speak of. You have had to be a single parent, for many years. Even, solo parent, not single parent, but solo parent for many years. And all of those things are very hard, but they are appreciated. And even if it doesn't feel like that, so that would be what I would recommend, is that even if it doesn't feel like your sacrifices are being seen, they are being seen. That's, one of the things that I hope through my reporting we do, is to see those things that are hard, and talk about them, because we can't find any ways to improve them if we don't talk about them. So it's okay to talk about them.
I love that. That's great advice. Helping male spouses who are struggling to be seen. I think that's great. And I think you're doing just that with the stories that you're telling and the research that you're doing. I love it. I think it's amazing. So before you go, can you tell us where people can find and connect with you, and where they can sort of follow along the journey about finding out when the book will be out for purchase?
Yeah, so many places. You can obviously go and find my author profile on military.com to learn what I'm reading. I have a Substack. It's We Serve Two, as is my Instagram is We Serve Two on Instagram, and then LinkedIn. So my name is Jennifer M. Barnhill on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect. We are still getting all the stuff ready to launch the book. And so all of those sites will have resources for you to connect to be able to purchase the book, but also just to learn more about the project, and military dinner table conversations as well. It's all the stories are all over those platforms. So feel free to connect anywhere that is easier for you.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for all that information. We'll be sure to get the word out, and I will be staying tuned, especially
Yeah.
for the book to come out. I'm excited. I would love to purchase it and check it out. I think it's amazing.
Well, thank you so much. I know we have a special event that's happening. I don't know if it's okay to talk about that, but
Yes, it
we're going
is.
to get my publisher and I, EP House Publishing. We're doing two different book signings at the Military Influencer Conference
Mhm.
called MIC this year. It's in Atlanta, Georgia, and we'll have a limited number of copies to grab, and there'll be signing at the USAA table as well as my publisher's table. So if you are going to MIC, keep an eye out for that promotion as it comes out. But we're excited to get some books in the hands of actual human beings. They say it's like having a baby. I'm just like, I don't know if it's like having a baby, but it's fun because I really just want it. It is like that in the sense of like just get out, like just be done. Like I'm at 39 weeks right now, 40 weeks or so. Want this baby out of here. No, I just want it to be done.
I got you. That's great. I love it. That's awesome. So we'll be sure to mention that as well. Jennifer, this has been amazing. Again, congratulations. I look forward to watching your journey and the launch of your book being available for purchase. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hello, viewers and listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into this exciting episode of Tactical Treasures podcast. We've just finished up an amazing conversation with Jennifer Barnhill, who is a journalist, researcher, and author, and the 2025 Armed Forces Insurance Navy Spouse of the Year. She has just authored a book called Military Stories You've Been Told and the Ones You Need to Hear, which pulls back the curtain on the Department of Defense's polished narratives to reveal the lived experiences of military families too often left out of the conversation. Through deeply reported stories and unflinching analysis, this book challenges what Americans think they know about military life and reveals why understanding the truth is essential if we're serious about supporting those who serve. With a powerful blend of research, personal stories, and historical context, Jennifer Barnhill challenges assumptions about service, sacrifice, and support, inviting readers to question the systems in place and advocate for lasting change. From the untold labor of military spouses to the overlooked grief of Gold Star families, this book gives voice to those who support the mission behind the scenes and suffer its deepest consequences. Barnhill's work is not only a tribute, it's a blueprint for reform. With insight from political leaders and real military families, this is a call to acknowledge, record, and honor the full story of American military life. If you're interested in purchasing the book, be sure to stay close to her social media channels to find out when the book will launch. You can follow her on LinkedIn at Jennifer M. Barnhill, and her Instagram, which is We Serve Two, and two is spelled TOO, as well as her Substack, which is We Serve Two. If you would like to pre-purchase the book, hopefully you can check out her table and her book signing at the MIC conference being held in Atlanta, Georgia, during the week of September 23rd. Again, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget, you can find our Tactical Treasures podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms, American Grit, and on our website, tacticaltreasurespodcast.com, as well as our dedicated YouTube channel. We're now airing on Reese Across America Radio on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern for the encore. You can also find Reese Across America Radio on the iHeartRadio app, the Odyssey app, and the TuneIn app. We are also proud to share that our JDog Foundation is a Reese Across America sponsorship group. For each $17 Veterans Wreath you sponsor, $5 goes directly back to the JDog Foundation, whose mission is to prevent veteran suicide and heal veterans' mental health and PTS. You can donate right now at reaseacrossamerica.org/JDog. Again, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again on another podcast real soon. Bye-bye now.